What is the story of your baptism? Now, I realize we spend more of our time emphasizing, and rightfully so, sharing the story of when we came to faith in Christ. I would also say, though, it is beneficial to share your baptism story because that is part of your story that demonstrates what your life has been like after choosing to trust Christ and after following Him with obedience. My baptism story kind of goes like this. I was a kid, I was 8 years old, Kenwood Baptist Church in Fayetteville, Georgia. I remember it well. It was April, and it was still pretty cold outside that year. And so we get into church. They had filled the baptistry. My dad actually baptized me, so that was special. But my most distinct memory of that day was clearly either they forgot to turn the heater on in the baptistry or it just was broken because it was bitterly cold. And I remember the day because like my teeth were just chattering. I was so miserably cold. But I remember that day, A, because it was cold. I remember it being special because my dad was involved. And I remember that day because that was a moment where I made this public statement of what God had done in my heart and my life. I think that's a beneficial and important story to tell because it speaks to a couple of things. Baptism is, in essence, an object lesson that gives us the opportunity to broadcast to people that we know and love, and even in today's world of live stream, literally broadcast to the world, that we have put our faith and trust in Christ, and we believe that He has made us right with God. In fact, Galatians in our study has spent a lot of time talking about justification and the relationship between the Old Testament and the New Testament, or the law and the New Covenant, and we spent a lot of time unpacking that. But this past week, it gave us the moment to really think about baptism and what it is and why it's there. And this imagery that it gives is that we are in Galatians 3. It uses the language that we are putting on Christ. And we talked about in the sermon, you could check it out in its entirety, but this imagery that we are literally changing our clothes. We are changing our team colors, if you will. And in fact, the word baptism means to immerse, or it even comes from the same root word to dye, D-Y-E. And this beautiful object lesson not only aligns that we were dead in our trespasses and sins and raised to walk in newness of life, which is the beauty of this immersion, but Paul even goes on to say in Galatians chapter 3, verses 28 and 29, the color of our life, and it literally changes. Like, we are no longer identified by our old self, but we are aligned with brothers and sisters in Christ. And that begins to break down prejudice, separation, division. And in fact, Paul says, regardless of your nationality, your religious affiliation, your gender, all of these things that we normally use to separate people, in Christ, we are all one. And this is absolutely beautiful because it gives us the opportunity not only to celebrate the change that takes place in a person's life when they are made new, it also gives us reason to celebrate the huge faith family that we are a part of and the call toward unity and loving and leading and living together. I hope you'll find an opportunity not only to celebrate and share your baptism story, but also use that as a motivation to live out your faith with other brothers and sisters, together celebrating who Christ is and the unity that comes from Him. Let's don't allow prejudice or differences to separate us, but rather allow our hearts to be unified in love and in one common mission to make His name known, because we all bear His colors and we bear His name. I hope you're encouraged and challenged by these thoughts today. You may want to check out our sermon from last Sunday just to kind of go a little further, or even the entirety of this series through Galatians. Don't hesitate to check out our website or reach out if you even have any questions. And until next time, God bless.